just to be back up here. Let me get my papers apart here so I can see what I'm doing. So, I wonder how many people have heard of the poet and author Christian D. Larson. This was a man who is considered the father of modern New Thought. And he's inspired a huge number of people, not the least of which is Dale Carnegie, who wrote the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. And a lot of what he wrote in that book is based on this single poem that I want to share with you today. It's called Promise Yourself. And we're going to take each one of these parts apart a little bit, but I want to go over the poem first, and I want to read this to you. It goes like this. Promise yourself to be so strong that nothing can disturb your peace of mind. Promise yourself to talk health, happiness, and prosperity to every person you meet. Promise yourself to make all your friends feel that there is something worthwhile in them. To look at the sunny side of everything and make your optimism come true. Promise yourself to think only the best, to work only for the best, and to expect only the best. Promise yourself to be just as enthusiastic about the success of others as you are about your own. To forget about the mistakes of the past and press on to the greater achievements of the future. Promise yourself to wear a cheerful expression at all times and give a smile to every living creature you meet. Promise yourself to give so much time to improving yourself that you have no time to criticize others. Promise yourself to be too large for worry, too noble for anger, too strong for fear, and too happy to permit the presence of trouble. To think well of yourself and to proclaim this fact to the world, not in loud word, but in great deeds. And finally, promise yourself to live in the faith that the whole world is on your side, so long as you are true to the best that is in you. Isn't that something? Yes. That should be on every television station, the headline of every newspaper, the headline of every internet website. This is just magnificent. And so many people don't know who he is today. But even if you don't know who he is, I guarantee you, you know the people who are inspired by him. Like I said, Dale Carnegie, Eckhart Tolle, all the people who we know, Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, these people all took their learnings from this man and this poem. So let's take a look at this first one. To be so strong that nothing can disturb your peace of mind. How often are we disturbed? I don't mean the disturb, but you know what I mean. How often are we disturbed by thoughts of unhappiness, thoughts of unease, thoughts of anxiety, of stress? Well, now, during right now, I can see it's having some of that, but it says here, it's impossible to be happy when your mind is not calm and at peace. Worries, grief, anxiety, sadness, and other negative emotions and thoughts can disrupt your peace of mind. To rise above all these and maintain what is most important, your peace of mind, you need to promise yourself to be strong. How often do we not do that? How often do we hear something in the news, read something on the internet, see something on our phone, for heaven's sake? We carry the news around us with our phone. I try not to, but still, it creeps in anyway. And we look at that and go, oh, the world must be coming to an end. Look at that. Put it away. Just put it away. It's not. It's not coming to an end. What I always like to say, I learned from a friend of mine years ago, is the world will go on turning. Regardless of what happens, this week or next year or the next 10 years, the world will go on turning. And like it or not, we will turn with it. So you might as well be happy while we're doing it. Because so much is dependent upon our attitude, our ideas, our concept of happiness. You know, they used to say, you hear this a lot, happiness is an inside job. If you're waiting for somebody to make you happy and fix your life, you're going to have a really long wait. Because there is nobody else. If you look in the mirror, you will find the person who is your problem. You will also find the person who is your solution. Every single time. So let's look at the next one. Promise yourself to talk health, happiness, and prosperity to every person you meet. I know this can be hard. It can be hard. I struggle with this too. It says, promise yourself to send other people positive thoughts. Avoid speaking ill of others, and instead wish them the best that you wish for yourself. Therefore, stay away from gossip, slander, insults, bad thoughts, evil talk, and other forms of speech that injure others instead of uplifting them. This is not just to your loved ones and your significant others, but also to every other human being. Now, having said that, I have to throw in there, this includes every other human being that you absolutely inside cannot stand. Now, I know we all have at least one. And if we don't now, we've had them in the past. And if you don't have them in the past or now, you probably will in the future. This is called life. One of my favorite cartoons was, how many people have been fans of Gary Larson, The Far Side? One of the cartoons I used to like to see all the time, it was a picture of the earth. And it was a picture of an old man with a beard. I mean, I'd imagine it's supposed to be God. And above him, he's holding a little box. It looks like a cereal box, and on it's written as jerks. And he's sprinkling it over the earth. And underneath it says, just to make things interesting. Doesn't it feel like that sometimes? Sometimes you're going to work, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're going to the supermarket, you're doing the laundry, whatever you're doing, there's always seems to be somebody there. But a lot of that is our own perception of it. I can see some people's faces going, your perception of it, I know what my perception is. You know, just get them out of the way, right? No, don't do that. It really is in our perception. Because when we change our thinking, come on guys, we all know this. We change the outcome, we change our lives, right? Wayne Dyer used to say it all the time. You know who the first one to say it was? Christian Larson. So don't let that get into you. Don't let that attitude of ill will. Because I did a talk a while back called How Full Is Your Bucket? And there was, we learned at that time that when you wish ill of other people, you're taking from their bucket, you're also dipping from your own. Have you ever noticed that if you're complaining and you're angry and you're wishing ill will on somebody, or I wish that person her hair would turn purple in the shower, and blah, 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 or whatever it is. You're wishing ill will of somebody. Have you ever noticed that after you do that, you feel bleh? You never feel good about it. It never feels good afterward. It's like drinking a bunch of soda pop and eating a bunch of candy bars to feel better. At the moment it's going down, it's great, it's wonderful. Give it an hour. And then you're going to start going, I don't know why I'm feeling so awful. And it's the same thing when we put others down. It's the same thing. So the next one is, promise yourself to make all your friends feel that there is something worthwhile in them. Now the only way we can do this is to feel that there's something worthwhile in us. Because just as back in the old bucket lesson that we did a while back, if you have an empty bucket, you can't fill others up. It's just like that old thing, you know, when we get on the plane and it says if the oxygen drops in the cabin, put your own mask on first before you help somebody else. Because if you pass out, you can't help anybody else. Same idea with the bucket. Same idea of making people feel that there's something worthwhile in them. If you're feeling bleh, like you've just eaten 16 Snicker bars and 45 Cokes, you can't fill others with steak and baked potato and vegetables and fruits. You can't do it. It's not possible. It says, be the kind of friend who makes your friends believe they are good, strong, and worthy. Be a true friend. Avoid being the kind of person who tears others down. And I know we've all done it. I've done it. I've been guilty of it before. But I try to catch myself. It doesn't make you better than them because you say bad things about them. If you insult them or despise them, it only hurts you when you treat others unkindly. When you are mean, abusive, or overcritical of others, it has nothing to do with them. And here's the biggie. It has everything to do with you and me. Thus, better to be one who makes people happy. Now, for those of you who don't know, most of you do now, but I also teach during the week. I teach middle school music. So I work with 7th and 8th graders, the kings of insults and put-downs. They do it constantly. And I have always told, whenever somebody's gotten in trouble, I sit down and I talk to one of my students and I say, you know, when somebody has insulted you or hurt you, and that's often happened, they come to me in tears and we talk, and they said, you know what? That tells you about them. It has nothing to do with you. If they call you goofy or ugly or four eyes or heaven forbid any other kind of awful names that middle schoolers call each other, it has everything to do with them. Somebody else once said, and I don't know if it was Eleanor Roosevelt, who said, insults only matter if you believe them. If you think it's true, then it bothers you. If it doesn't, as they say, it's like water off a duck's back. It's just, boom, it's here and there and it's gone. So don't be one of those people. Let's work on that. Let's work on not being one of those people who tells you all about ourselves through insults, through put-downs. And you know what? That also includes when we're in private. When we're in our homes, when we're watching the news, when we're watching television shows, when we're watching game shows, when we're watching whatever we're watching. That includes when we're at home all by ourselves. Because we're not doing damage to anybody but ourselves. If you're yelling at the TV set and calling that guy a moron, he can't hear you. He has no idea you're talking about him. But your own mind, heart, and soul does. Your heart hears it. Your soul hears it. And it affects you negatively. The next one is, promise yourself to look at the sunny side of everything. Make your optimism come true. Isn't that a wonderful phrase? Make your optimism come true. Ooh, I love it. Ooh. Everybody get that with me. Ready? Go. Ooh. Oh, yeah. All right. It says, choose to be optimistic by appreciating the good things you already have. Take responsibility for your own mindset. Oh, my goodness, how many people I see. I think this way, but it's not my fault, isn't it? To be optimistic, you stop complaining about what you don't have, and instead of be grateful for what you already do have. Even if that something is not a whole lot. You've heard the phrase, some people say, I don't have a lot, but it's mine. That's the attitude. If your current state is not good enough for you, go another way. Try something new. And maintain a more positive attitude toward life. How many times have we said, we've watched people, they talk about how awful and horrible life is, and how horrible everything is, how other people are horrible to them. Are they? Or maybe somebody is just not taking responsibility for their own life. If you don't like the job that you have, find another one. And if you're not qualified, guess what? This is America. You can go back to school. You can learn a new skill. You can earn a degree. You can go to vocational school. You can become a welder, a plumber, a fisherman, a carpenter, anything you want to be. The only thing is you have to do it. One of my favorite songs, and when I was a young child, I used to watch Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood all the time. And one of my favorite songs was of his was, I think it's called You've Got to Do It. Anybody remember that song? Watch it with their kids, their grandkids. You've got to do it. Every little bit. You've got to do it, do it, do it. And when you're through, you can know who did it because you did it. You did it. You did it. There is a satisfaction. I know, I still remember those words. Yes, just... I still remember those words. Because it hit me hard. It was one of the things that really formed who I am. And I understood that in order to get something done the way you want it, you've got to do it. Whether that's building a business or building a house with sticks, building, fixing a flat tire, anything. Use your imagination. If you want to do anything, create anything, make your life anything, you've got to do the work. I've run across students and other people as well, but a lot of my students will say, well, I don't like hard work. I don't want to work. I want to go to a different school. Our school is an honors curriculum, so it's a pretty high deal curriculum. And so it is open to everyone, but it's not for everybody. It's a really great place to be, but some people find it very challenging because they weren't used to being challenged as much. Frederick Douglass said, without struggle, there is no progress. You have to have struggle in order to have progress. But at the end of the day, when you do it, when you push through the difficulty, and you take all the steps necessary, I never thought I would go back to school. I thought I would just spend the rest of my life even without a high school education. But I did finally. In my 30s, I finally got my GED. And then about 10, 12 years later, I finally started working on my BA. It was about 5 years ago. And I started doing all of this work, and my first thought was, I'm too old for this. The homework was tremendous. I wanted to get through as quickly as possible. I didn't want to take 1 or 2 classes. What did I do? I took 5 per semester. Oh, that's what you can say now. At the time, it was like lifting a car over my head. My last semester in college, I took 6 courses. I took 6 courses at the same time. It was wonderful. I don't want to do it again, but it was wonderful because I got through in the time that I wanted to. Every little bit. You've got to do it. And when you're through, you can say, I did it. There's a personal satisfaction that comes in that. What's the next one we have? To think only of the best, to work only for the best, and to expect only the best. How often do we say, that's not going to be good. That's awful. That's horrible. That's we're never going to get out of this. We're never going to get out of that. That's never going to happen. This is never going to happen. Well, it certainly won't with that attitude. You might as well just curl up and wrap yourself in bubble wrap and be done with it. It says, being lukewarm is tempting, but it will not get you the results you want. For the best results, always put your best foot forward in your pursuits. That includes anything you want to do. Whether you're doing brain surgery or sweeping floors at Jack in the Box. It doesn't matter. Whatever you do to the best of your ability. When you love what you do, you will be good at it and produce quality work. Avoid mediocrity by constantly building on your best efforts in life, work, relationships, and other important things. But you know what? Even if you know that you don't love your job, do it to the best of your ability. When I graduated from Grand Canyon University, I had a wonderful speaker, and his name escapes me for the moment, but boy, he was fantastic. And I remember him telling a story about when he was young. He was just close to graduating from high school, and he was working at a Jack in the Box, and he absolutely hated it. Cleaning the greasy fry this and cleaning the toilets and sweeping the floors, and one day he just walked off the job. And he got home, and his father said, "What happened? Did you get fired?" Not exactly. "Well, what happened?" "I quit." "What do you mean you quit?" So he called the guy, Jack in the Box. He called the manager. The manager was still looking for him. He thought he just left. Turns out he just walked off the job without telling the manager anything. And that father took his son by the arm, sat him down in the church, and said, sat him down in the chair, rather. And he looks at him and he says, "This is what you're going to do. You're going to march your way back up to that Jack in the Box, and you're going to beg for your job back. And when you get up there, and if he takes you back, you are going to be the best floor sweeper, the the best toilet cleaner, the best grease trap cleaner that man has ever seen. Because I want to report from him that that's exactly what you've done. And by gosh, within a month he was. He got a raise, he became a manager, and he moved on to do great things. That man is now an internationally known speaker. Makes 7 figures a year. Incredible success story. Every little bit, you've got to do it. Promise yourself to be just as enthusiastic about the success of others as you are about your own. Uh-oh. This is a hard one. A lot of times, we take pleasure in the failings of others. That's an awful thing to say, isn't it? Sometimes people we don't like, we go, well, they just deserve it, don't they? Well, they did this to me, or they did this to somebody else, so they deserve what they get. No! No! There's a German word for that. Have you ever heard it? It's called Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude is taking the pleasure in the ills and the bad, the distress of others, or the bad luck of others. His car broke down. Good heavens, could we do anything worse? We've all been guilty of it. I've been guilty of it. But when we start to feel that, we need to catch ourselves. It says, do you secretly enjoy when others around you are having a hard time? Perhaps being secretly glad in your heart that it's happening to them and not you. This attitude hear that? If you're giving somebody else a hard time for having a hard time, and then those people finally start turning everything around, all you're going to feel is anger and envy. And it's going to kill your spirit. Talk about dipping from your bucket. Always be glad for what somebody else has done, what somebody else has achieved. Promise yourself to be genuinely happy for the other people when they are happy, and be sad with them when they are sad. This takes more than just merely saying, I am happy for you. Remember, whatever happens to another can happen to you. So be truly happy for other people's success. Don't allow that to take root, because it becomes a habit. If we allow ourselves to do that on a regular basis, we just keep sinking down and down and down into the depths of despair. And we can't figure out why. Why do I feel so rotten? Because you're wishing rotten stuff on other people. Now somebody, if you look at it from a traditional Christian standpoint, somebody might say, well, that's God punishing you. No, it's not. It's not God punishing you. It's you punishing yourself. You're doing it to yourself. As the old saying goes, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. No. You're only hurting you. Promise yourself to forget the mistakes of the past and press on to greater achievements of the future. We do this all the time. That failed. I am a failure. I can never go back and do anything. I will sit here and allow my feet to grow roots and be here forever. If you continue to look back at what you failed or did wrong, you will not move forward to avoid stagnating in your self-improvement. Use the past merely as lessons. Let go of the past disappointments. You can't change the past, but you can start where you are and change your future. Old quote from C.S. Lewis. You can't change the past, but you can start where you are and change your future. Think of it as a new chapter in the book. Think of it as starting right here, right now. Every single day that you wake up and you see and you're breathing and you're eating and you're drinking, thank God, I've got another day. I can do something different. One of the best old stories of that is, have you ever read Christmas Carol? Even if you've never read the book, I mean, there are more film, stage, musical, and TV adaptations that can be counted. That's what that's all about. It's about starting anew. Even all the awful, rotten stuff that he did before, as mean and nasty as he was to everybody before, he woke up on Christmas morning and was a new human being. And what do the other people do? Then they go, well, you were mean and rotten to me, so I'm never going to talk to you again. No, they embraced him. They even sang in one of my favorite movies, the movie Scrooge with Albert Finney. And they all sang Father Christmas, and they made a big circle around him and sang. And one of the most beautiful moments in movie history I've ever seen. Oh, it was wonderful. Promise yourself to wear a cheerful expression at all times and give a smile to every living creature you meet. Every living creature. That's not just human beings. Smile at your cat. Smile at your dog. Go outside and smile at the bugs and the lizards. Hi there. How are you? What are you looking for today? I know people who go out and they water their plants and they speak to the plants. I think that's wonderful. I'm coming, honey. I'm coming. I'm right down here. I'm watering this guy. I'll be over to you in a minute, right after the ferns. Did you know that plants can actually respond to that? They actually understand positive language. They may not understand the actual words, but they understand the positivity. And then if you put a plant near a window, but not close enough to reach the light, they stretch toward the light. You leave them there long enough, you'll find that their branches actually stretch toward the light of the window. Everybody needs cheer. Everybody needs happiness and a smile. Life has always been about self and others. You can't be completely alone without human contact and interactions and enjoy life. It matters how you treat others. The more you treat them unkindly and look down on them, and the less your happiness will be. One way to be kind to people is through smiling. A very simple thing. Therefore, keep your head up and smile often. A smile doesn't cost a thing. Having a joyful countenance is just as good for you, and it inspires others as well. I try to do that every time I see somebody. And sometimes you won't always see the results. You'll smile at them, and you may not see them. They may be grumpy, and they may look at you and grumble. But you know what? They did several studies on this, and they found that within 2 to 3 people after your smile, they'll smile at somebody else. It may not come back directly to you, but it will go on to other people. That's success. Promise yourself to give so much time to improving yourself that you have no time to criticize others. Make yourself better. Remember? You've got to do it every little bit. Instead of using your time to criticizing others, use the time wisely to improve yourself. Cut down your participation in meaningless conversations aimed to tear other people down. Don't gossip. Don't sit there and go, well, that Reverend Denise, she's... That Mary, she's... Right, don't do it. That's right, don't do it. Don't do it. Say it with me. Don't do it. Oh, come on, we can do better than that. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Don't do it.
Much better, much better, much better. So it says it might bond you with like-minded people. The complaining and the commiserating. But what value will criticizing others add to your life? It goes back to the earlier one we were talking about. The more you criticize others, the worse you feel. You also have weaknesses, which other people can criticize. Ever heard the expression, those who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones? Therefore, use your precious and limited time on earth for self-improvement. Because when you improve yourself, you can improve others' lives as well. It's that oxygen mask in the airplane. Once you have the oxygen, once you have the power, once you have the control, you can help others. Be too large for worry, too noble for anger, too strong for fear, and too happy to permit the presence of trouble. Having negative emotions is a normal human experience. However, holding on to negative emotions is not good for your mental health. It says, promise yourself not to keep negative emotions lingering, but to hold on to happiness. The main negative emotions which create havoc in people's lives are anger, fear, and worry. With anger, letting your anger go untempered can cause a lot of damage to yourself and others around you. Dealing with your anger sensibly and apply it to good use, such as pursuing just a just course instead of hurting people. It's kind of like using your emotions efficiently. Now, most of us nowadays have LED bulbs, or, I don't even think they have CFL anymore. Most of them have the LEDs. And the reason I go into this is because LED is cool enough to where you can actually put your hand on the main bulb and just feel warmth and not burn yourself. Why? Because it's using the heat, it's using the energy more efficiently. So it doesn't escape so much as heat. That's what was happening with the incandescent bulbs. That's why you'd burn a hole in your hand if you put your hand on an incandescent bulb. It was like a fire. It's because it was inefficiently burning the energy. Same idea here. Use your emotional energy wisely. If you're angry, fine. Take that anger and channel it into something productive. Don't just stand in your house and go, it doesn't do anything. All you're doing is letting your anger, letting your emotion out to do nothing. The other one is fear. Be strong in the face of fear. Sometimes fear is an illusion and there's nothing to fear. For example, when pursuing success, don't fear failure. Because sometimes we need to fall and fail in order to learn and improve. Failure is a part of life. An old Japanese proverb is fall down 7 times, get up 8. The only time you fail is when you stop trying. That's the only failure there is. Did you know that Thomas Edison spent years and over 1,000 tries to create the light bulb? 1,000 tries. Somebody asked him, how do you keep going when you've spent so much time in failure? He said, I didn't fail. I just found 1,000 ways not to make a light bulb. That was his attitude. 1,000 tries. How many of us would have given up after 10 or 5 even? 1,000 times he did it. Finally, worry. Worry is useless. You are greater than the worries that you may have. Hence, don't allow your worried thoughts to rise above you. Worry does nothing. Again, it's that inefficient use of energy, inefficient use of emotion. Channel it into something productive. If there's something you can do about it, anything, do it. Go do it. Go make it happen. Or make it not happen, as the case may be. Promise yourself to think well of yourself and to proclaim this fact to the world, not in loud word, but in great deeds. Lots of people can stand on the street corner or in their office or the church or wherever they are and say, I've done this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do the other thing. Great, go do it. When you've actually gone out and done it, then we'll talk. When we see the results, can you imagine being at work and telling your boss, well, I'm going to make the company $1 million. That's great. When I have the check, we'll talk. It's the same idea. Don't talk, do. One of my favorite quotes is from Walt Disney, one of my favorite people of all time. My only regret is that I never got to meet him. And he said, the greatest way to get started is to stop talking and start doing. And ain't that the truth? Yeah, I know. Reverend James used the word ain't. So it says, hold yourself in high regard no matter what mistakes you have done or your status within society. Remain true and respect to avoid your... Excuse me, let me try that again. Remain true and respectful to yourself, not by words, but by thought and actions. May your actions show your respect for yourself. You are worthy like all other human beings. Thus, it is easier to think well of yourself when you see the good in other people and appreciate it. And finally, to live a life of faith that the whole world is on your side, so long as that you are true to the best that is in you. So don't always think about how people are against you, it says. Rather, live like you believe the world is on your side, because you are living in your authentic self and not failing to be who you are. When you are full of faith, you have no time for negative energy caused by envy, worry, anger, or fear. That's what Walt Disney did when he was building Disneyland. He got thousands of people telling him no. They came to him and they said, what are you building out there in the middle of nowhere? Keep in mind that Anaheim at the time was a farming community of 14,000 people in the early 50s. That's like going out to, not even big as Casa Grande or Eloy. Out in the middle of nowhere, basically. I'm going to create this great new kind of theme park that everybody's going to come to. They all laughed at him. And then they looked at the plans and saw that there were no merry-go-rounds, no roller coasters, no Ferris wheels. He said, you don't have at least one of those things, you're going to go broke. That's what people expect. This is not going to be, you have to have something, it doesn't look like any of the other parks or fairs. And he goes, exactly. That's the idea. And when somebody didn't see what he was looking at, he just figured they didn't understand, and then he just went around and he just went on his way. Talking and building and planning and creating and thinking and imagining. Do that. In whatever thing in your life, you don't have to be building a theme park or making a movie to do that. Something as simple as following your education, following your job, running for office, running a church, running a school, running your own small restaurant, whatever it is that you do it with gusto. Do it with faith. That's really what all this comes down to, is having faith in yourself. That's really what this whole thing has been about today. It's all about faith. It's all about not giving up, no matter how hard the road looks, no matter how tempting it is to take that easy way out and give up, criticize somebody else, grumble and whine and moan. The more you grumble and the more you wone and moan, the worse you feel. Conversely, the opposite is true. The happier you decide to be, and sometimes we don't feel like it. Remember, fake it till you make it? Fake it. Act like you're happy, and eventually it will turn into that. So let's say this. I am happy. Together? I am happy. You don't sound happy. Let's try it one more time. I am happy. Oh, much better. I have the faith to move mountains.
I have faith to move mountains.
Indeed you do. So I'm going to take this microphone back over here. A piece of music. And I want you to allow these words to be yours.